Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari was supposed to be the fairy tale ending to one of Formula One's greatest stories. The seven-time world champion, chasing that record-breaking 8th title, walking into Maranello in the iconic red, it felt like destiny. Fans called it the box office transfer of the decade, and Ferrari believed they had finally found the missing piece to return to glory. But what was billed as a dream partnership has quickly turned into something far darker. Instead of podiums and celebrations, Hamilton has found himself drowning in frustration, self-doubt, and even labeling his own performances as useless. Whispers inside the paddock suggest Ferrari may have underestimated just how difficult this transition would be. And now, with critics already questioning whether Hamilton's Ferrari chapter is doomed before it even begins, one question looms larger than ever. Has Lewis Hamilton made the biggest mistake of his career? When Hamilton shocked the world by walking away from Mercedes after nearly 2 decades, it felt like history was about to be rewritten. He wasn't just chasing another title, he was chasing immortality. That elusive 8th world championship would cement him beyond Michael Schumacher, beyond any debate. But reality hit fast. By the summer break, Hamilton hadn't stepped on the podium in a main race. His best results? 4th place finishes, respectable for most, but disastrous for a driver of his caliber. Then came Hungary, where he called his performance useless and hinted Ferrari might even need another driver. A brutal self-assessment, but one that perfectly captured the frustration boiling beneath the surface. The story was no longer about the glory of his Ferrari debut. It had become a narrative of disappointment, a superstar trapped in the wrong script. But why? What went so wrong so quickly? Part of the answer lies not in the car, but in the culture. After 18 years in the Mercedes family, Hamilton had never known anything else. Even his McLaren days were tied to the same Mercedes engine, the same culture, the same DNA. Moving to Ferrari wasn't just a new team, it was an entirely different world. Team boss Fred Vasseur admitted it himself. We were stupidly expecting he would have everything under control. They underestimated the culture shock, and so did Hamilton. Ferrari is more than a team, it's a national institution. Based in Italy, operating under immense political and media pressure, Ferrari lives in a bubble unlike any other F1 outfit. And Hamilton, who thrived in the precision-driven, English-speaking Mercedes machine, suddenly found himself trying to adapt to an environment where even the smallest cultural nuances mattered. This wasn't just about changing a car, it was about changing an entire way of life. On paper, Hamilton's season isn't a total disaster. He grabbed a sprint race win in China, showed flashes of speed in Spain and Britain, and for a stretch of races, he even looked like Ferrari's fastest driver. But Formula One is cruel. All it takes is one bad weekend to reset the narrative. In Belgium, mistakes in qualifying, a spin in sprint qualifying, and track limit violations buried his chances. Then, Hungary delivered the knockout blow, out in Q2 while his teammate Charles Leclerc stormed to pole. That's when Hamilton publicly called himself useless. The word went viral, sparking endless headlines and debate. Could Ferrari really have miscalculated this badly? Were they already regretting signing him? But the truth, according to Vasseur, isn't about one bad race. It's about something much deeper. Vasseur points to 2 key reasons. First, Ferrari is unlike Mercedes in every way. The organizational structure, the working rhythm, even the cultural expectations are entirely different. Hamilton's move wasn't just technical, it was personal. He had to change everything about how he operated. The second reason might be even bigger. Hamilton had never truly adapted before. His Mercedes partnership lasted 12 years, the longest driver-team relationship in F1 history. For context, Michael Schumacher's Ferrari stint lasted 11. Verstappen is only just entering his 10th at Red Bull. For Hamilton, Mercedes wasn't just a team, it was home. Drivers like Carlos Sainz, who bounced between multiple teams before Ferrari, or Sebastian Vettel, who learned adaptation after leaving Red Bull, were used to change. Hamilton wasn't. This was his first real reset in nearly 2 decades, and it showed. But even with all these struggles, Ferrari believes there's a way forward. Behind the scenes, Ferrari has been working overtime to close the gap. The issues aren't giant, obvious flaws. They're small, technical details that add up. Brake sensitivity, tire windows, communication rhythm. Each tiny piece of the puzzle makes a difference when you're chasing tenths of a second. One example, Hamilton struggled with Ferrari's Brembo brakes, which felt alien compared to the carbon systems he trusted at Mercedes. Ferrari quietly reworked the components, tweaking the bite point until it matched his style. It was a subtle change, but the kind that can transform a driver's confidence. Ferrari also brought in familiar faces to ease the transition. Technical chief Loke Serra, deputy principal Jerome D'Ambrosio, and performance engineer Luca Della, all with ties to Hamilton's Mercedes past, were tasked with bridging the gap. They weren't just colleagues, they were translators between two worlds. Still, as the results showed, fixing the pieces doesn't always fix the puzzle. If Hamilton sounded defeated in Hungary, Vasseur insists it's the opposite. His self-criticism isn't weakness, it's his edge. Throughout his career, Hamilton has demanded the impossible from himself and his team. When he called himself useless, it wasn't surrender, it was fire. It was the same obsessive drive that pushed him to 7 titles. The Sir even compared him to other ultra-demanding drivers like Nico Hülkenberg, who in junior categories pushed his teams to the absolute limit while working harder than anyone else. At Mercedes, Hamilton had moments of doubt too, like Qatar last year when he told reporters he thought he wasn't fast anymore, only to rebound weeks later. His words sting, but they're also fuel. That's why Ferrari sees his self-criticism not as a red flag, but as proof he's still fighting.
You will be criticism and you're a better escape to digitally on the moment. And we do how to book at Easternen in the bigs like there, in point it, and there's what make management.
The question now is whether Hamilton and Ferrari can turn this slow, painful adaptation into long-term success. The Sir is adamant. Patience is the only option.
Point by point, we're fixing the issues,
he says, and there's a bigger picture here. 2026 is looming, the year F1 will overhaul its cars and engines. That reset could play perfectly into Hamilton's hands. With nearly 2 decades of experience, his ability to read a car and master energy management might give Ferrari a head start in the new era. In other words, this messy first chapter might just be the foundation for a comeback story. For now though, the fairy tale has been replaced with frustration. Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari move was supposed to be legendary, but so far it's been riddled with self-doubt, technical headaches, and headlines about failure. Yet beneath the surface, Ferrari believes the pieces are slowly falling into place, and that 2026 could flip the script. So here's the question, is this just a painful adjustment period on the road to redemption, or has Hamilton sealed his decline by leaving Mercedes at the wrong time? One thing's for sure, the world will be watching. And if Hamilton does rise again in red, it won't just be a victory. It will be one of the greatest comebacks Formula One has ever seen.